Hello, dear friends. This is your weekly astrology horoscope, finally back. I took a couple of weeks off, and frankly, it wasn't a planned break, but there was just so many things going on. So, anyways, I'm back, and I hope you are also prepared for some more astrology and for some interesting events. Next week, what is really interesting is that we have two planets moving to Capricorn. Mercury first on Tuesday and then Venus on Friday. What this means is that we will have a more of this serious, hardworking, consistent, but also sometimes too serious or in a way restrictive energy. And this applies both to our communication, our plans, how we think, how we organize things, but also when it comes to relationships and negotiations and how we connect with our loved ones. So, again, we always have the two sides. And what would be helpful in this situation is to really try to be not only serious, but I would say probably the best word is reasonable about everything, about your personal life and relationships, about how you organize your daily life, about the way you are thinking about things. So we don't want to go too much to the negative side, which is really about pessimism or thinking that everything should be very hard or very difficult or would take lots of effort. That's like too much of Capricorn. What is more balanced, again, as I said, would be a more reasonable, also responsible attitude. So, in different life areas during this week, we may notice this shift. How we want more stability, we want more clarity, we want things to be more concrete and practical. And another thing I was thinking is that also, if we consider that Mars is still retrograde, because Mars really is still retrograde, perhaps with this Capricorn energy, we may really need also to slow down. So now is not the time to rush things in any area, basically. Business, relationships, friendship, planning, I think about everything. So it's much better to slow down, to take your time, to pause if you need for a moment, to consider things properly, again, to be as reasonable as you can, and then perhaps to take action or if needed to wait a little bit. For me, that's like the best strategy. The other interesting event this week is that Mars, being retrograde, is also having an opposition with the Sun this week. And this is marking the middle of this retrograde phase. So it's a big part of this cycle and it's really important. So, from one side, there could be really some kind of culmination. And after that, we are moving to a different phase of this cycle. So, you may notice that your energy is shifting, or your focus goes in a new direction, or generally the dynamic is different. But specifically about the opposition, about the culmination of this retrograde phase, we need to be extra careful about, first of all, what are we projecting on the outside world. When there is an opposition, there is always a chance that we might see something in the outside world which is our own, but we don't like it. So if you are too irritated, angry, upset, annoyed by the outside world or usually people there, try to be as honest as possible and to ask yourself, could it be that maybe you are either doing the same thing to yourself, the thing that you are upset about or irritated about, or that you don't want to admit that you might be doing it in another situation? So in every case, this is a great time for self-analysis, observation. Again, when it comes to taking action, be careful because it's possible that you may either be impulsive or you may do something, I would say, with a wrong motivation. Maybe to prove a point to someone else or to show something or someone that you are right, or generally the motivation may not be genuinely coming from you because you want it, but there could be other reasons. So of course it doesn't mean leave everything behind you, wait until this is over. It's hardly possible, and I think it's not even necessary, but be mindful about the things that you are going to do. Now, let's get through each of the days one by one, as usual. So on Monday, we have the moon in Taurus, and overall this brings more stability. It's a great time to focus on more practical tasks or things that require from you to be more grounded. Again, patience, stability, being cautious are some great ideas when the moon is in Taurus. But the moon is also going to make conjunctions with Uranus and the North Node in Taurus. So it's also a great time to think about or focus on something new, to experiment a little bit, to allow yourself to do something in a different way. It could be an insight that you may have, a new idea, or even something concrete that you can change during the day. So it's an interesting combination, really, to find the balance between stable routine work and at the same time to try to apply or to implement something new and different. But who knows? Maybe we will be able to do it. Next, on Tuesday, Mercury is moving to Capricorn. So as I said, this can make us more serious when it comes to how we communicate with others, how we think about things, and generally can help our mind also to be more concentrated. Mercury is actually pretty comfortable in Capricorn, and this really helps the rational, practical thinking. So again, without rushing things too much, we, in a slow, cautious, practical way, may find some interesting solutions or ideas or ways to implement our ideas. Right before Mercury moves to Capricorn, it will also have a square with Jupiter, again on Tuesday. So it's possible that we might be a little stretched between our long-term goals and visions, and then what do we do today? What are the small steps that we should take? Try to be careful or mindful about your priorities, because when we have such a combination, it's possible that we may neglect the important things and focus too much on not so significant things. So it's really about priorities. On the other side, such an aspect can be great for learning new things, for changing something about our goals, for even planning some kind of trips. That's also an interesting time. The moon is in Taurus during most of the day until 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So this will be the part of the day that is kind of slower, but also more stable. The energy is really about, helps us actually to focus on practical things, concrete stuff. And after 4 p.m., the moon will move to Gemini, which will speed up things around us, can make the atmosphere more dynamic, the energy and how things happen overall. Everything can get faster. It would be a great time for socializing, for communication, especially in the evening. On Wednesday, we have two Uranus aspects. The Sun has a quincunx with Uranus, and Mercury has a square and a half with Uranus. So it's very possible that there could be some surprises, something unexpected. We can make some changes, we can try new things, we can experiment, but keep in mind that your nervous system might be too active. And it's possible that, especially if we are not doing anything concrete, we may feel kind of restless or more irritated, or even some kind of conflict may show up if we are not putting this energy into something more constructive. So try to think of something new, even if it's just something small for the day. Try to change something. This is a really great time. And overall, we may have some interesting ideas because the moon is also in Gemini, which can help us to find new ideas, or maybe to share our thoughts in a new way, to be more original, even to be more innovative. And finally, Venus is having a minor positive aspect with Pluto, which can bring some emotional intensity, passion, stronger desires, and also commitment. It could be about relationships or anything else that you are focusing on during this day. Then on Thursday, we have actually the most intense aspect of the week, which is the opposition between the Sun and Mars retrograde. So be extra careful with everything. Possible confrontations, chances for accidents or traumas, especially things that might be triggered because we are impatient, because we were rushing things, or because we wanted, how to push things too much, like to overuse our willpower, but not in a constructive way. Sometimes people can be also passively aggressive, or might hurt each other without even recognizing it. So on Thursday, again, my recommendation, if you have important negotiations, conversations, maybe just skip it if possible. If not, be extra careful how you express your thoughts and ideas, how you treat other people, what kind of decisions you are making, and especially about the following actions. If possible, try to leave some space between making the decision and taking the action, so that at least you can rethink and see if this really makes sense, or maybe you need to pause or wait, or maybe sometimes you really need to go for it. Who knows? Of course, this is also a chance. So Thursday, very dynamic, very intense day. It could be nice to do something physical, a little bit of exercising or some kind of activity, again, not too risky, but something which will allow you to put your energy into something in the outside world. And on top of that, Mars also has an interesting aspect with Uranus. So we may feel the need for some kind of change, for something different, for some kind of experimenting. And that can make the day even more interesting, actually. And the moon is still in Gemini, actually triggering this whole thing and turning it into a full moon as we know it. So be careful, be mindful, but also allow yourself to set free from old ideas, from things that might be holding you back, from things that are already old and unnecessary. So Thursday really is the most intense day of the week. On Friday, we have Venus moving to Capricorn. And surprisingly or not, Venus actually feels comfortable in Capricorn, because Venus likes stability. Venus likes things to be concrete, to have some kind of shape. And it's a great time to really focus on our relationships from a more practical perspective, to ask ourselves some concrete questions. What do you really want? Or how can you make things better? Or really to be more grounded and practical. It's interesting that the moon will be in Cancer, so there will be an opposition between Venus and the moon. So definitely the emotional stuff would be interesting. From one side, there will be something within us that wants to be expressed and to be, kind and cuddled and just to share feelings and emotions. On the other side, Venus is Capricorn, is more cautious, could be distant or even kind of closed. So we need to find the balance between those polarities. But emotional stuff, family stuff can be especially interesting on Friday. And Venus also has a square with Jupiter, so we may change something about what we really appreciate, what is the most important. We may change our goals, also totally possible. On Saturday, we have Venus having a square and a half with Uranus, so the emotional surprises are highly possible. This can make things very interesting but also unpredictable, and of course everyone responds to this in different ways. Somebody can be on top of the world, feeling so excited that there is something new and something different. For others, this may feel more like lack of stability, but things are changing. Whether we like it or not, that's how things go. So perhaps it's better to just go with the flow and allow ourselves to experience some new emotions. Mercury is also having a minor challenging aspect with Saturn, so conversations, communication may not be very open or clear, or there could be something that makes us feel kind of stuck also. So don't overthink things. Again, don't rush too much. Don't force your opinions or judgments on other people, because this can also trigger a more negative response usually. And as I said, the moon is in Cancer, so the overall emotional atmosphere is kind of like sensitive. People can also take things too personally, but again, there could be also lots of warm connections. And finally, on Sunday, the moon is in Cancer until 3 p.m. and we'll have some positive aspects with Neptune, with Jupiter. So we may really feel very connected, very emotional, very close to the environment or people around us. Then there is an opposition with Pluto, which increases the intensity, can make us take things more personally, or sometimes even be too intense in a way. But then around 3 p.m., the moon is moving to Leo, which can help us to be even more excited, more open, more enthusiastic, more confident. So Sunday evening actually might be great for going to a party or some kind of event, or just to express yourself or do something creative, or do anything that helps you enjoy life, basically, even if it's staying at home reading your favorite book. Why not? So that's the weekly overview, my friends. So we have some interesting shifts, including the middle of the Mars retrograde cycle and 2 ingressions in Capricorn. So the energy is shifting, and let's see what the stars will offer us. Let me know in the comments if you want to share something, if you have any questions, and I'm preparing some interesting stuff with you, so please stay in touch. Have a beautiful week, everybody, and I will see you soon.